Welcome back into Plead Your Case. Let's break down what we're doing for today's episode. We're going to start with Start, Bench, Cut, a segment we've seen before on Plead Your Case. Got a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of running backs. Who was the best out of the bunch? Then we're going to do 5 in 5. 5 answers. I get to decide whether they're good or not. Whoever has the worst is out. And the last one we're going to finish it off with is over, under, or perfectly rated. We got a great show coming up. Don't go anywhere.
Hey there, sports fans. You're watching another episode of Waynesburg University Community Television's only national sports debate show, Plead Your Case. Whether you're a diehard fan or a casual observer, get ready to join us every week as we dive deep into current pressing sports topics. Our panelists dissect every angle, every scenario, and every statistic to influence their fiery takes.
What has he done without Tom Brady?
And spirited arguments.
No, listen, Bowtie. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
There will be no argument unexplored, and every take will be under review.
After reviewing the play...
Here in the Waynesburg University Communication Department, we believe in heated debates with a touch of friendly competition, which is why we also have a fresh 5 in 5 mini segment that you won't want to miss.
I don't think a pitcher is breaking Cy Young's wins record of 511.
You Google America's team and what do you get? You get the...
So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious sports chat. It is time to plead your case.
Welcome back into this week's episode of Plead Your Case. I'm Seth Adams. I'll be your host for today's episode. And to the guys to my left who will be joining me on this episode is Ethan Spazarski and Ron Brown. Now, guys, for the first segment, we're talking start, bench, cut. We're going to go through 3 positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Talk about 3 guys who you think should be starting, should be benching, and should be cut. Kind of like fantasy football. So we're going to start with the quarterback position. We got Joe Burrow coming off a great week last week, 34-56, 428 yards, 5 touchdowns. Kirk coming off a 23-38, 306 yards and an interception. And Russell Wilson coming off a 14 out of 28, 195 yard, 3 touchdown, 1 interception game. That's a lot. A lot of information I just spat it out. Ethan, who's your starter? Go.
Starter right now, Joe Burrow. It's undeniable. He has done a great thing so far this year. It's the 3rd best quarterback in ESPN fantasy football. He's coming up against a Charger defense that they're only scoring 8.5 points per game. Not really a lot of great stuff in the secondary, but Joe Burrow's on an elite level right now. In fantasy football, he's among the best.
Yeah, Joe Burrow has really hit his stride right now. He's coming off back-to-back great games. 400 yards and 5 touchdowns the game prior. This is the first game that he's played against the Chargers in 2 years, so I think he'll definitely make his mark. He's definitely my start over the other 2 guys that we have because, I mean, he's just right now he's playing levels above everybody.
Mm-hmm. And an incredible game last week. Now, who's your bench player?
Bench play for me is Russell Wilson. He has done a phenomenal job. Comes off a calf injury, including myself. There were people that were just concerned of what kind of Russell we were going to see. We're going to see Seattle Russ. We're going to see Bronco Russ. Well, we're seeing Pittsburgh Steelers Russ, and he's done a phenomenal job really keeping the Steelers into these close contests, winning, getting these drives. Great throws to receivers, George Pickens, Mike Williams, just to name a few, just last week. So a lot to be proud of there. And then they're coming up against the worst secondary in all the NFL this week. Russell Wilson in fantasy, expect him to have another big week.
Yeah, Russ is definitely my bench too. It's nothing personal, Russ. You know, I'm a Steeler fan and everything. I want him to do good. But, I mean, comparing him to somebody like Joe Burrow right now, he's definitely – I can't put him in over Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He's playing great, but I can't put him in over Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He's had great weeks, you know. And going against the Ravens right now, the Ravens' defense is awful. So 25 points per game and 294 yards per game. They're bottom 5 defense. So I wouldn't be mad at starting him if I had to, but I'm not starting him over Joe Burrow. If I got Joe Burrow on the team, I'm not starting him over Joe Burrow.
And your cuts, obviously, both Kirk Cousins. Yeah. Hasn't really been very promising. Yeah. Hasn't really done anything.
Unless he's playing against the Bucs, that's the only way I'm starting him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very fair point.
Yeah, and now let's go ahead and we're gonna head over to the running back position. We got the 3 guys with us today. Nick Chubb, he had last week 15 carries, 39 yards. Saquon Barkley, 14 carries, 66 yards. Breece Hall, 10 carries, 52 yards last week. Now, guys, I think there's another clear starter in this one.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Saquon, he wasn't the greatest last week, but he's definitely, I think he'll hit his stride because against the Commanders, he averages 5.5 yards per carry and 88 yards per game. He's projected 18 points. I think he's definitely the starter, and he almost has 1,000 yards already. He's going to hit 1,000 yards on Sunday because he has 991 right now.
Yeah.
He's going to hit 1,000 yards Sunday. So there's
It's
no
technically Thursday, but who's counting? Sorry.
They play Sunday, yeah.
Go ahead, suppose yours.
Saquon Barkley, 100%. Dude's averaging almost 19 points per game in fantasy right now. He has 8 total touchdowns. I mean, for a PPR league as well, if more receiving touchdowns he's going to get, he's going to continue to add up more points. And then he's going up against a Commander defense that is very good, but he's had a lot of success over it. I mean, Saquon Barkley is a wild card factor as it is. He's hurdling dudes backwards. He's getting drug tested after games. That's how good he is. So you can't ever count him out. I think Saquon's the clear-cut starter here.
And your bench.
Bench for me, Breece Hall.
I agree.
Breece Hall, and if Nick Chubb was here for a full season, this would be a completely different debate, and we'd have it out there. Chubb only has 6.6 points right now in the 3 games he's played. I understand the Browns are not having a good season at all, only 2-7, so there is that. But Jets, right now, Breece Hall, 15.2 points per game right now, going against an Indianapolis defense that's only 20th in the league of 32 in fantasy. I like Breece Hall's odds to get me more points than Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I think I would definitely go with Breece Hall as well over Nick Chubb because I think Nick Chubb's the obvious cut because he's been very cold coming off injury and everything. But Breece Hall hasn't been the greatest either. He hasn't scored a touchdown in 4 weeks. He's only had 100-yard game this season, but against the Colts, he might have a little bit more success against the Colts. They've given up 148 yards per game rushing, so I think Breece Hall is definitely my bench over Saquon Barkley, but he's not anywhere close to Saquon Barkley right now.
I agree. All right, now we're going to head into the final position of the 3, the wide receiver group. We're going to go with George Pickens, who had 5 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown last week. Darnell Mooney with 5 receptions, 96 yards. And Deontay Johnson, since he's joined the Ravens, has had 1 catch for 6 yards. Suppose, who is your starter for this week?
For this week, receiver-wise, controversial take. I'm taking GP here. I know our producer's really going to like to hear that. I think he's just been doing spectacular things, and it's more or less the team he's going up against this week rather than the other guy that I'm considering for starting. Steelers play the Ravens this week. They have the worst secondary in the NFL. Ron, you kind of alluded to their defensive struggles. 25th best defense in the fantasy football. They're allowing over 25 points per game. George has had 6 times he's had 10-plus points this year. 2 times he's eclipsed the 20-point mark. He's also had 2 100-plus yard games. I think George Pickens is the clear-cut starter mainly because of who he's playing this week. I think if you want more points or you want to have faith in more points, you've also got to look who they're going against. And I think the Ravens just give that to George Pickens.
That's controversial.
I think it is because Darnell Mooney, he's been doing fantastic this year.
Pickens playing against the worst secondary, not the worst secondary, but the worst passing defense in the league that's obvious though.
It is, but you don't discredit Darnell Mooney. You got.
I'm
the
not
dude's
discrediting him
right
but
now.
Last year at home against the Ravens, he had 6 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown. They couldn't do anything with this man. They will never be able to do anything with this man, especially with this sorry bottom 5 passing defense that they have. They will never be able to stop GP. And Darnell Mooney's playing good. He had 18 points, 19 points, and 14 points. Those are good flex numbers. I'd have him as a good flex or maybe a number 2 receiver, depending on how good or bad your receiving room is on your fantasy team. But he's not somebody I'd want as my starter. GP, somebody I could have him as my starter, as my number 2 receiver or my number 1 possibly.
I don't like how you're talking about Darnell Mooney here. I feel like you're just throwing a little bit shade. I get it.
Darnell Mooney's solid.
I think he's solid this year right now.
I think
dude against Tampa Bay scored 31.5 points.
That's 1 game.
That's what. All right, Larry. Last 3 games, 14-plus points. His last 6 games,
18,
he's 10-plus points.
His last 3 games, 18, 19, and 14 points. Those are solid numbers, but when I think of a guy, I'm thinking, 20s. That's good.
Yeah, well, George Pickens has had 20-plus. Let's see, 2 times he scored 20-plus points. And then you had Darnell Mooney, 30-plus points, and then more 10-plus point games. I mean, then
And then
George
also
Pickens.
since the quarterback.
I'm not just. I want the record to show. I'm not discrediting the start. I'm discrediting the shade.
The shade. So
It
because
ain't
you
no
just take a Darnell,
shade. I'm
take a-
saying he's a good
Feeling
flex.
shade. I'm detecting shade here.
I'm saying he's a good flex, but he's not. I'm not starting him over Pickens.
I'm not saying you should start him over Pickens. I'm just saying give
Guys,
Mooney credit.
What about Deontay Johnson?
He sucks. dude has 1 reception on the Ravens right now.
Did you just say Deontay Johnson?
That's the
I
third
didn't know
member
that he
of our.
was-
That's the third member of our.
He's not. He's
wide
like the
receiver group
fifth
today.
option of getting the ball, the fifth
So-
weapon on the. If you even want to call him a weapon, he's like the fifth option. And this is personal now because I used to be a Deontay Johnson fan
This is getting-
with the Steelers.
it's getting
I used
emotional.
to be one of his biggest defenders at one time, but after seeing his events last year, turning away from a fumbled football against the Cincinnati Bengals, celebrating when you're down against the Arizona Cardinals,
It's gonna be all right.
constantly
Ronnie's
dropping
gone.
balls.
Ronnie's not on the Pittsburgh Steelers anymore. It's gonna be all right.
Constantly dropping balls. He has to, and I'm not excited with him at all. It's a homecoming game for him.
Yeah.
We need
But
to
he's
let Ron
projected
see it.
Well,
5
guys,
points.
we agreed, or you guys agreed on every single pick together, which is something we're not too common with on Plead Your Case. So
With him,
you know,
no.
today we had a day of peace, I'd say, for our start bench cut. But we're gonna send it to the 5 in 5 mini segment coming up right here on Plead Your Case. This is so spice.
Cornucopia.
Try instead of train.
God, I love this show.
Welcome back into Plead Your Case. Up next, or right now, 5 in 5. 5 questions that I'm going to present to the 2 panelists to the left of me, and they're going to bring up a discussion and try to convince me on what side is better. They're going to debate, and whatever one I think is better, I'm going to pick. So to my left, I have the reigning champ, Brett Gambita, and the challenger on the other side, Meg Berry. Now, Brett, since you are the reigning champ, you can either elect to receive or defer. What would you like to do?
I would defer.
Defer. So, Meg, you will go first in this round.
Okay.
So, Meg, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, first question. Worst franchise in pro sports? Go.
Cleveland Browns. Without a doubt. They're 2-7 right now this season. They've never won a Super Bowl. And call me a hater, their colors are disgusting.
That is I
Their colors
agree with that.
are disgusting. With that alone, don't even have to talk about their professional career when it comes to winning and losing. Their colors and their stupid elf mascot. It's just poor. It's bad. And they're in Ohio. It's like the armpit of the United States. That's all I have to say
Done.
for that.
You're done. Brett?
Well, funny enough, I also went with the Cleveland Browns.
What
and
are the chances
Not
of that?
only do they have 0 Super Bowls, but they have 4 winning seasons since 2000, and that is the worst record in the league since 2000. They are 14 games behind 31st place. They're 14 games behind the next closest team. And if you look at the list of quarterbacks that have led them in passing since 2000, it goes on and on. You got Couch, Holcomb, Garcia, Dilfer, Fry, Anderson, Whedon, Mayfield, Kaiser. You could go on and on. You know who I didn't say on that list? Deshaun Watson, and that's the guy they gave the most money to in NFL history. That contract is terrible, and it was issued by the worst franchise in pro sports.
Is that your final statement?
Yeah.
All right. I'll write my decision. Next question. Who would win the battle? Prime Shohei, the pitcher, versus Prime Shohei, the batter? Meg.
I'm first. I am saying the pitcher because overall, yes, he did have a very short pitching career, only pitched for about 4 to 5 seasons in the MLB, but overall, he pitched 86 games with 38 wins, 19 losses, and an ERA of 3.01, which, yeah, you look at, that's not the best, but he went up against prime Aaron Judge and Mike Trout and those big batters in the box and was able to strike them out and has an insane...
Brett.
That's it.
I went with the hitter. He's only got 1 season Ohtani does as a qualified pitcher. And in that season, as Meg mentioned, he did rank in the top 10 in some of the major statistical categories. But if you look at his batting stats, he led the NL in home runs this year, led the AL in home runs last year. He can hit the long ball. He can go oppo. He can deliver a nice, clutch, timely hit. I'm not saying that he can't do that pitching-wise, but I just think his hitting is overall better. And, I mean, this guy hit a home run off Paul Skeens this season. I mean, that alone should make
Time!
All right.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to make my decision. All right. Are you ready for question number 3?
Yes.
What's worse, MLB home plate umpires or NFL officiating? Meg.
NFL officiating. I did this prep before this week's game, so before Sunday and as of last night on Monday. So before this week's, there was over 2,000 flags thrown in the NFL this season. And it takes away the watchability of a game. It makes me not want to sit down and watch the game because every other play is a flag. And yeah, there's the eye in the sky that makes the call for both the umpires and the officials on the field, but the NFL officiating has been horrible this year for the pure fact of it's too much. It's too much.
Both are consistently inconsistent, but NFL officiating is worse because penalties could be called on any play. If you watch an NFL game, I bet 9 out of 10 plays there's holding on the lines, and NFL referees just have so much more to worry about than MLB home plate umpires, where if you're an MLB home plate umpire, you're just basically calling balls and strikes and then plays at the plate most of the time. If you're an NFL referee, you got to watch for holding, pass interference, hands to the face, things of that nature, everything. You're watching for more things than MLB umpire.
All right. You ready for number 4? Mm-hmm. In an NFL season, what is more impressive, going 17-0, winning a couple of games, but losing the Super Bowl, or just winning the Super Bowl?
Winning the Super Bowl. In 2005, the Pittsburgh Steelers went 7-5 in 12 games. Got lucky in the playoffs against the Colts because their kicker had the worst day of his life in his entire career. And they got lucky and they made it to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl. And that's all that matters. It's that big game. I don't care if you have a 17-0 season. All that matters is the Super Bowl.
It is more impressive to win 17 games in a row, but it is more prestigious to win the Super Bowl because a team will win the Super Bowl every year, but a team won't win 17 games in a row every year. In fact, the last time it's been done was in 2015, and that was over a span of 2 seasons. That was the Carolina Panthers. The Broncos did the same thing from 2012 to 2013. They didn't win the Super Bowl either. And then the Patriots, they had an undefeated regular season and didn't win the Super Bowl. Those runs were all impressive. Yeah, but they didn't win the Super Bowl, so no one remembers them.
Time. Oh, you guys are cooking. This is great. All right, number 5. This goes out to a special guy on our crew today, Josh Klingen. Can you have more than one favorite team in a sport, Meg?
I say yes, but I do have reasons why. I'm a Pittsburgh fan. As a Pittsburgh fan, specifically the Pirates, you have to have a backup team. You can hold on to hope for the Pittsburgh Pirates that they're going to do good at the front half of the season. But when it goes downhill and goes downhill fast, which it usually does, you got to have that backup team. But I believe the backup team has to be from a different league. Can't be in the same division. So then that way you're not rooting against your team in the division. And on top of that...
Time. Brett.
Yes, you can have a second favorite team, but you can't get as happy for that second favorite team as you would for your favorite team. Now, I personally follow the Colts because I have an aunt that lives in Indiana, and I follow the Packers because I was named after Brett Favre. But if either of those teams won the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be nearly as excited for them as I would be for my favorite team, and that rule should be the one that everyone follows.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. Guys, I have a winner for the 5-on-5 for this week. Brett is the winner for this week, winning 3-2. You lost me with ditching on the Pirates. You lost me there.
Like
that's my team, and I got to stick with them until the day I die. I'm sorry. They will read my team, and that was the deciding factor. Right?
Poor decision.
I'm sorry, guys.
Every
but
5-5 has
Brett
3-2.
continues to reign his terror on 5-in-5. Stay tuned for more content. We got the main guys coming back up on the desk right here on Plead Your Case. Welcome back to the main desk here on Plead Your Case. We've got the main guys back up with me today, Ethan Spazarski and Ron Brown. And for this segment, we're going to be talking about overrated, underrated, perfectly rated. And these are the teams we're going to be talking about today. The Steelers, Chargers, Eagles, Jets, Vikings, and Cardinals. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it off of the ESPN Power Rankings. So we're going to go through, see if what ESPN says, in our opinion, is correct, over, or underrated. So the first team we're going to talk about is the highest rated team on ESPN, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They come in with a 7-2 record, beating the Falcons, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Jets, Giants, and Commanders, and losing to the Colts and the Cowboys. They have them ranked at number 5. Now, guys, do you think that this is the proper rating, underrated or overrated? Ron, we'll start with you.
I think we could be possibly higher. We could.
So you think it's under? So you think they're underrated?
Yeah. And then from what I've been seeing, just people talking, the Steelers have still been an under-the-radar team. Like my Pittsburgh Steelers, we have a top 10 defense. The offense is starting to score points. Mm-hmm. The addition of Mike Williams, the addition of Preston Smith, the emergence of, well, I shouldn't say emergence, but the good play of Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin's playing really well as a reliable number 3 and a great punt returner. Great special teams. I think we're looking at it. My team, we're underrated.
Suppose?
Your team?
Yes.
Are you a Rooney? Yeah. Do you own this franchise?
Yeah.
No, you don't. They are not your Pittsburgh Steelers. There are a few things you said that I slightly disagree with. Overall, I think they're perfectly rated as they are. Here's the thing. The Steelers had a chance to win both of those games that they lost against the Colts and Cowboys, especially against the Cowboys more than anything in the world. The Colts was a whole bad first half. The Cowboys, it was much more closer than it was.
We had a couple different things that Colts game could have gone on our way. You know, we had a red zone turnover. A few things went.
Thank you, Peanut Gallery. Now, back to what I was saying. The last 4 games, the Steelers have scored 123 points, and they're averaging a little over 30 points per game. They're getting hot right now, and they're moving up. They look really good off their bye. I think right now at 5, they are perfectly rated because there are 4 other teams that are better than the Steelers. Even if the Steelers are 9-0, I still think there are some better teams in the NFL right now.
Are they in the AFC?
Yeah.
Who, besides the Chiefs, who else would you say?
The Bills are definitely a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got to give them that. I think right now, so Chiefs and Bills definitely are the top 2. I think you could say, now we're going to find out this week to answer this question. You could argue the Ravens, whether you like it or not. You could. Think about it this way. They have been offensively, while their defense we talked about is stagnant and terrible right now, their offense is playing at a very high level.
Defense wins championships.
No, they don't, bro. How do you score points?
But I'm
Derrick
saying,
Henry,
if you cannot
Derrick
stop
Henry
nobody,
and Lamar Jackson,
if you can't stop nobody, you can't win.
Here.
If you can't stop nobody, you can't win.
Settle down.
How are you going to win if you can't? Your defense can't stop nobody.
They literally just won 35-34 over the Bengals.
Hey, settle down.
Okay,
so Ron, they didn't have to stop anybody.
Ronald,
they didn't have to stop anybody.
And 5 touchdowns.
So you say they're underrated?
Yes.
You say they're perfectly rated?
Yes.
Wonderful. Let's move on. Eagles.
But he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Ranked at number 6. They come in at 7-2. Defeating the Packers, Saints, Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jaguars, and Cowboys, but lose to the Bucs and the Falcons. They are ranked at number 6. Spose, what are your opinions?
Slightly overrated. Now here's why. The teams that they've beaten, of all the teams they've beaten, one of them's a legit playoff contender right now. They beat the Packers, but they also beat the Saints, Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jags, Cowboys. If you don't beat those teams, those are mediocre teams, lackluster teams. I'm talking. They've lost to the Falcons and Bucs. For the Eagles right now, from what we've seen last year, I understand losing Jason Kelce is a big component. That does mean a lot. But this Eagles team at 7-2 right now, 6 of their 7 wins have just been mediocre teams. I'm not buying it too much. You beat the Cowboys 34-6. Congrats. You want to be rewarded for actually what you're supposed to do. Okay. I think they're slightly overrated at 6. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm not saying they're out of playoff contention. But I'm just saying I think putting them at 6 is a little.
Ron, do you agree?
They're rated right for right now. From what they've accomplished up to this point of the season, I think they're rated right there. because I think Jalen Hurts, he's playing really well. Saquon Barkley, arguably the best running back in the league. A.J. Brown, he's coming back from injury. He's been playing really well for coming back from injury. And you've had Devontae Smith. He's been kind of cold recently. But I think the Eagles are rated right perfectly because can you sit there and tell me that there's 5 teams better than them?
Overall in the NFL, yeah. Yes, 100%. We're talking NFL rankings. I'd say NFL-wise, there are 6 better
Can you
teams.
even name 5 in the NFC?
5 in the NFC there, but we're talking about NFL rankings. We're not talking about NFC and AFC. Why do you keep bringing that up?
I'm saying
this is NFL rankings, bro.
All right,
stay with NFL.
Name 3 of them better than in the NFC better than that.
I'll give you this, and then we got to keep going. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to answer that question because this is NFL rankings. I don't know why you keep bringing up the NFC.
But I'm saying I just said name 2 or 3 that you would
Fine,
take.
Lions. I'd say the Lions are better than they are. I'd say even though they lost some early in the year, I think the Packers right now are playing better football than the Eagles are right now. I don't argue.
I'm going to go with the Eagles over them. I'll take the Eagles.
All right.
This guy again.
All right, so Ron, you say they are perfectly rated. You think they're good. And suppose you say they're a little bit over.
A teeny bit over.
Okay. Yes. All right, so we're going to move on to a very interesting team that we've seen in the NFL this year, the 7-2 Vikings. They sit at number 8 in the power rankings. Their wins are against the Giants, 49ers, Texans, Packers, Jets, Colts, and Jaguars, and their losses are to the Rams and the Lions. So, Ron, do you think that this team is over, under?
If I were to move them up, I'd move them up maybe 1 slot maybe. That was it. I think they're rated perfectly because this team is definitely overachieving. Nobody expected, especially Sam Darnold to come back and revive his career like he did. Might even be comeback player of the year or in the finalists for it.
Well, he can't win the award because you have to be injured in order to win that award.
Joe Flacco won it last year.
Well, they just changed the rule. So they can't win the award. So
all right.
I'm saying Sam Darnold, the emergence of Sam Darnold, and then having, a top receiver tandem between Addison and Justin Jefferson. And Aaron Jones is playing really well, and the only 2 losses they've had is to the Lions and Rams, which, the Rams are a mediocre team, but losing to the Lions is nothing to hang your head about.
Yeah.
They might be the best team in the NFC. So I think the Vikings are perfectly rated. They definitely, I'm a fan of them. I like watching them play if the Steelers aren't playing. So I'd say they're rated.
Suppose.
Perfectly rated. They definitely have cooled off, but this is still a team. They're scoring 50 points in the last 3 games. They're working it out. Sam Darnold's been great. Aaron Jones has been great. I've been impressed with what they're producing. So I agree. I think the Vikings are perfectly rated right there.
We're going to move right along to the Cardinals. They are sitting at number 10 in the power rankings with a 6-4 record. Their wins are against the Rams, 49ers, Chargers, Dolphins, Bears, Jets, and their losses to the Lions, Commanders, Packers, and Bills. Suppose. How do you think they're rated?
Oh, I think they're perfectly rated as this is. Their 3 of their 6 wins have been really good contending teams against Rams, 49ers, and Chargers, to be specific with you. And in 2 of their 4 losses, only lost by 1 possession, lost by 7 points to the Lions and 7 to the Bills. And they were actually beating the Bills for a majority of that Week 1 game. I think right now where the Cardinals are at with what they've been doing, what we expected, they're doing better than expected. They've been awesome this year, but where they are right now, ranked at number 10 in the NFL according to ESPN, I think right there they're doing a really good job and they're perfectly ranked in the NFL.
Yeah, the Cardinals I could say are slightly underrated just because they're one of those under-the-radar teams. Not a lot of people are talking about them, and nobody is talking about how great Kyler Murray's playing either. He has a 12-3 touchdown interception ratio and the second highest QBR in the league right now. So, and the defense is middle of the pack, but they're playing good enough to win. And they're definitely under the radar. So I think that.
So you think they're perfectly rated?
Yeah.
Or a little bit underrated as well. So maybe like a couple ticks.
Yeah, because they're a good team. Nobody's talking about them. I don't know why nobody's talking about them because they've definitely showed out against some solid teams. So it's not like they've just beat bum teams all year. They've showed out against solid teams.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, Kyler Murray is definitely he's playing really well right now. So yeah, I'd say they're definitely right up there.
So we got 2 more teams. We're going to go right to the number 11 spot. We're going to go to the Chargers, 6-3. They beat the Raiders, Panthers, Broncos, Saints, Browns, and Titans, and have lost to the Steelers, Chiefs, and Cardinals. Ron, do you think that they are rated correctly at 11?
I think slightly overrated. I'd say a little overrated. Just because out of those teams you've named, they haven't beat anybody. So, you know how they used to say, September's for pretenders, October's for contenders when you start getting into divisional play. But I'm not saying that they're bad or anything. I'm just saying slightly overrated. I know at the beginning of the year, J.K. Dobbins was on fire. He's cooled off since then. Justin Herbert was battling injury. He's starting to come back from that. Ladd McConkey he's playing okay, but they don't have, I think, a true number one receiver on that team right now. But I think the Chargers are slightly overrated because, like I said, they haven't, and all the good teams they've played, it seems like they've lost to. Yeah. So they're a middle of the pack team, I think.
Suppose.
I don't disagree. I say they're perfectly rated, but I like what you brought up. A lot of their wins definitely are against not real contending teams. Now, to their defense, when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes, just put the L in your chart. Now, that division, him in the division, Patrick Mahomes is unmatched when he's playing the AFC West, so you got to give that one away. But at the same time, from where we saw the Chargers where they were supposed to be to where they are now, you got to be heavily impressed. I mean, Ladd McConkey has been a great turnout for you. He's 8 yards shy of 500 yards so far this season, 37 receptions, 4 touchdowns. He's consistently showing up. The wide receiver room as a whole hasn't been bad either. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins has definitely cooled off. He's really their only rusher, right? I mean, right now, Gus Edwards hasn't done really anything there as well. So I get what you're saying. But this team's averaging almost 21 points per game right now. They're still contending in a lot of their games, and they've been entertaining to watch. So I think right now at 11, right, kind of in that middle section of the NFL, they are at a perfect spot. But I do understand your point. I don't completely disagree with that.
Yeah, I think and I think the problem with their receiver room right now is just they don't have a true number one. Like Ladd McConkey, I think, could be that eventually, just not right now. I think them losing guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams last year, they haven't filled that hole yet. So they definitely got to get Herbert some receivers.
And we're going to do one more quick, just one word. The Jets at 24, 3-7, they haven't done anything. Do you think that they're over at 24? Do you think they're over or underrated? Quick, go.
Perfectly related. They're terrible.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing about them. But they're rated though.
All right, fair enough. I agree. So I'd say we've had a lot of agreements on this week's episode of Plead Your Case. A lot of similarities, but there's nothing wrong with having a nice debate every once in a while. But stay tuned for more content right here on WCTV YouTube and Plead Your Case every single week. We'll see you next time.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.